Welcome everybody to the PU Altoona Chess Championship Master. No, it's just I think a pretty chill, what's going to amount to a round robin tournament. We have 4 competitors today. One of whom your stream runner Mikey, aka the Cheat, aka Bravus Mikey, aka Big 519 on the rating, and hopefully things work out well for him. We also have 3 PSU Altoona club members, so we've got 2 games. Let's see how we're doing. Let's see. So we've got Nuke Nacho TTV, who has an unbelievable tweet that popped off about Joe Biden being Luigi Man, versus Jordan Ryan, the highest seeded player, just going by chess.com 10 minutes ratings. The time control is 10-0, so no increment. What you see down here for the clocks is all they have. Let's see. We have an England game, but that is really weird. So D4, E5, just hanging the pawn, but hoping to get development. E3, not having anything to do with it. Knight c6, knight f3, bishop b4 check, probably c3. Oh, okay, offers the trade. Knight g7, c3, ba5. Finally takes the gambit pawn f6. I think pretty dangerous. I mean, so you always have to worry about queen h5 ideas. This is a very poorly defended diagonal. Knight g6 is now possible, which is good. But it's just something, as soon as you play f6, you really have to worry. This pawn is isolated. Nothing is going to be able to defend it. And a couple of black's pieces are, a little bit not as defended as you want. Okay, so d5, pretty aggressive, breaking the center. The question is, where's the king going to go? So we'll pop back in this game. I like white. Big bar engine liked it, except past there. At d5, they really, I think, just wanted you to take this. Knight takes a5, and then queen a4 check. Knight would defend, and then you start just tearing apart the center. The idea is that you're a little bit more developed than black, and they have to defend. And we'll see what happens. So in Mikey's game, Mikey has played f6, which could be a dangerous proposition. So takes knight f6, and again you have this problem where black's king is stuck in the center. We'll see what happens there. Right now, bishop g2 is a reasonable setup. Bishop f4, knight c3, totally fine. And we'll see if Mikey can fight out of a tiny bit of a hole. Oh, I'm coaching Mikey. Oh no. All right. Gonna not comment on that for a while, and we're gonna come back here. So I have missed a couple moves. Let's see. b3, bishop g4, b takes knight takes d5, knight takes d5. Ooh. Okay, this is a little bit dangerous. So you have queen d4. You have a bunch of moves. So queen d4 is starting to attack this piece. Yeah. If black can get out of this with the king defended and without any one of these pieces ending up undefended, it could be okay. But for now, I would say white's probably, oh boy, queen e7. So this actually does hang the knight. Right now, fast time controls, we're going to see a lot of really practical chess, I would have to say. You always got to look for your opportunities. And there we did miss it. We did not see that this piece was hanging. We'll see what happens. Back to game 2, where we have Ray versus Mikey. So Ray going for knight c7, which is going to be a little bit hard to defend. The typical move here would maybe be bishop d6, but I don't know. Knight takes, pawn takes, and then you have kind of a knight takes, pawn takes. Oh, it does not let me do this. Oh, did they just play bishop d6? Oh, okay. Sorry, I was a little bit confused with quickly going to the analysis board. I think I know what to do next time. Wow, rook h7 to defend. Oh, I was guessing a move. That's how that works. So bishop f4, attacking it again. I don't know. Technically, I guess the computer likes bishop d3 to develop a little bit, asking the rook, where are you really going? Mikey's dog's attacking him, so that's not going to be good for him. It's gonna be hard for him to hold that. Attacked by the dog and the white pieces. All right, and here, black is queenside castled. You have an interesting discovered attack that can possibly happen on the queen. If this knight goes somewhere fun, that's something to worry about. Development has really, come together. And right now, oh boy. So a4, I want to go back here. So the problem with a4 is actually exactly this. Knight takes life analysis. So if you go knight takes e3, instead here you have this problem where the queen is attacked. If you recapture, you have something like this, which is pretty rough. So I think we had a4, f5, g takes f5. Okay, so I like this because it is going to blow open the king side here. So Jordan Ryan is going to be able to attack with the rooks. Actually, almost every piece, this knight is not exactly in, this knight's attacking b3 maybe, but yeah, I gotta like black's position a lot, and the computer thinks this is almost decisive. So bishop d3, trying to remove this piece, but bishop takes h3, and now black is controlling these squares in front of the king, and that's pretty dangerous. You can actually just ignore this. I think there's probably forced mate on the board. The computer does actually find it. You play queen g7, and you can throw a couple pieces in front of the king, but there's not much that can stop the eventual queen g2 mate. So knight f4 is also really crushing. The idea here is that piece was pinned. Now you have a lot of options. The queen has now been taken, and this looks very decisive. This could possibly end very quickly. The queen could still come in. Do you play bishop takes? Do you take here? It's looking pretty grim. So now here queen g7, and there's not much that black can really end up doing. Or I'm sorry, white can end up doing. So elects to pick off the pawn. Not a big deal. Just, rook g7, queen g7, or rook g8 or queen g7. Both are decisive. So let's go check up on Ray versus Mikey. Ray, they've got probably a pretty good advantage here. Still thinking about, bishop a4, rook e7 check. Interesting rook move by Mikey. Rook lift. Bishop g4 finally manages to take. So here it looks like Mikey has given up the exchange. So a major piece, a rook, for a minor piece, the knight. So trades, knight g7. Okay. Now white is trading off pieces. They have an advantage. I think that's generally very good. Let's see how the endgame technique goes. They castle. I think that's totally fine. Here, bishop e4, so centralized. Mikey plays f5. Interesting move, just trying to limit where the bishop goes. I think here just bishop takes b7 should be pretty fine. Bishop d3 also really solid. So, at this point, I would say that white probably wins this game and black probably wins the other game. So let's see how this is going here. He went b5. Jordan Ryan is winning by quite a bit here. I think he does not have too many losing moves. But I worry a little bit. I mean, just why not finish the game, I suppose. But again, am I really going to be complaining about this? No. Black is crushing in this position. It looks tough. So where did it really go wrong? I think castling was really tough after. So you have this situation here where you're pinned and you want to play h3 to try and ask the bishop what you're doing. And then, g4 comes. And here's a really dangerous point where white was doing great. And then this huge weakness starts opening up on the king side. And here, computer still likes queen d4. Actually likes h4. That's kind of wild. The idea of asking this king where they're going to go. So rook e1, castles long. Okay, and already, a little bit safer. f5 comes, which tears apart the lines in front of the king. And that, I think, is probably the decisive move. So knight e3, a6, knight b2. I think, okay, it looks like Jordan, he's going to just try and queen one of these pawns, which is kind of funny. But here, you almost have to ask, is bishop takes b5 coming? Probably not. There are a variety of mates on the board if that happens. So, just showing you really quickly. Okay, so king h2 came out, but, hanging queen takes h4, and then, or the more brutal, this king h2, maybe maybe white hangs on a little bit. Anyway, does this bishop really have the option of stopping defending? I don't really know. So let's go to the actual game. Let's see how time's doing. Looks like Jordan has plenty of time. Nuke Nacho behind on the clock. Yeah, okay, they're just going to try and make another queen. I don't have a problem with this. This is totally fine. Okay, now the queen is starting to get into it. Do you worry at all about checks like knight b6? Probably not, but, you have to start thinking about it. Why think? So let's go back to Ray versus Mikey. Ray, they've got a pretty huge advantage here. Getting into the deeper part of the game, the advantage right now is that white has 3 more pawns than black, and a rook versus a minor piece. And so the idea here is that they want to either pick off more material by attacking the king, trade off a bunch of stuff, but really you're just trying to queen a pawn. But Ray has they have passed pawns on both the queen side and the king side, and we'll see how this goes. I mean, it's 10-0, anything can happen, but Ray's been managing their time very well. 7 minutes, Mikey is running low on the clock, and that's typically how it goes if you're in trouble. You typically have to just use more time resources than your opponent, who can just kind of maybe blitz out obvious moves in some situations where you have to really go into the tank. So let's see what's going on here. Again, I think this is going to finally end in the simplification. Oh no. I think that's the game. So here the queen is just totally hanging. Very good. Okay, there's a fork, but it's actually not that exciting because after king g3 takes, you have to play, I think, knight takes, yeah, knight takes h3 is probably the line. So knight takes f3, and then you can just play knight takes f3. And maybe rook takes f4, captures. What do I think about this? No, you're just up like a lot of material. You're up a lot of material. This game is swung entirely the other way. Okay, so, maybe play with the food a little bit. You just want to move this rook away. Now you've got this big advantage. Fascinating. So huge, huge swing, huge save, but will Nuke Nacho have enough time on the clock? Big, big swing. Chat, I did not think that would happen. I thought maybe. So you never know. And it looks like Mikey's gone down, resigning honorably. Good for them. And yes, at this point, this is looking very over. As I showed Mikey, actually, what you do, you can even take this pawn, and then you're just going to put the rook anywhere to make the king not be able to cross any of these files. So maybe you put it on the d file. Yeah, this is perfect. Just d file, can't do anything because the bishop defends the rook. The king can't attack. The king just has to wait for death. And then you just, if you want, queen a pawn. And Mikey very honorably resigns there, down on time and material. So let's go to the very fascinating, wow. Every single piece is attacking it, but now a third piece is attacking the queen. Okay, we're back. We're back. All right, bishop takes g6 on the board. Dangerous though. So h takes g6 and rook takes g6 is mate. King h5, the perfect try and keep the game going. You got to play perfect. All right, you gotta mate. 18 seconds on the board. You've got to throw some sort of ladder together. You've got to make it happen. So rook perfect. King e4. That might not have been the fastest, but this is okay. Oh, this is going to be hard. So what you got to do is you almost just have to get into a situation where you can pre-move a bunch of moves. So all right. So rook a3 is coming. You do not have stalemate threats yet. Okay, the computer still sees mate. I would not find this. Okay, dangerous here. King f5, rook e5. Perfect defense to not get mated in one. Make it a little bit harder. 7 seconds on the clock. 6, 5, knight check. Okay, so what's happened is this game is going to be a draw if white cannot mate because of insufficient mating material. Now you just got to, yeah, and then now he's going to try and ladder. Oh, draw by timeout by insufficient material. What a game. What a wild game. And it's 10-0. That's what happens without increment. So Nuke Nacho and Jordan Ryan draw. Both both players had huge advantages and fought their way back into various points. Really good practical tries by Jordan, knowing that his opponent didn't have much time. And that was also an artifact of a lead that Jordan had before. So, really interesting game. Very wild. I mean, d4, e5. I don't, sometimes you can tell what's cool with the kids these days based on what some of the popular YouTubers do. So, like the Stafford Gambit, very big. Wow. All right. So, right now, Ray, they have a lead. Jordan Ryan and Nuke Nacho, they are tied at a half, and Mikey is sitting on 0, but they'll get there. All right, so now round 2 is going to start. Some neat games so far. So opening up both. So let's go to Jordan versus Ray. These are the two top rated players in the tournament. So we have a Scotch Gambit, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4. Jordan likes to play gambits. I like that at this rating level, absolutely. d4 takes, so c3, offering another pawn to try and develop. Will they offer a second pawn? I don't know if that's actually a thing that leads to a drawing line. Often you can play d5 and do some neat stuff. Okay, so bishop takes c. That I don't like. I don't like pawn takes. The idea of this gambit is that you want to develop your pieces quickly. And so I'm sorry, not bishop. B takes c3, I think is antithetical. So Ray plays knight f6, bishop g5, bishop g7, a little bit dangerous because e5 can come. But actually, the computer is really going to like black here because white has given up a pawn for development, but here and now d5 comes. That's huge. Oh, this is massive. Okay, so if d takes e4, bishop takes e4, queen takes e1, and then knight takes e4, forking a bunch of stuff at the end of the line. So bishop takes e4, queen takes d1, king takes d1. I'm going to open up the analysis board actually. So bishop takes, queen takes, king takes, knight takes e4. So that's a piece already. And then you also have to worry about this fork coming. So if you play something like bishop h4, just bishop takes h4, knight takes h4, knight f2. So this is a huge, huge swing. Ray, they are going to be able to capitalize perhaps. So knight takes e4 on the board. I think this is fine. So good recognition that this was not a pin anymore. So takes is fine. Either capture is good here. So it looks like Ray's got a pretty big advantage. Let's see how Mikey and Nuke Nacho are doing on their end. So Mikey's got white, Nuke Nacho black, e4, d5. So a Scandinavian, knight c3, that is rare. Takes knight takes e4, e5, knight f3. Good development from both sides. f6 is suspicious. I really think that like knight takes e5 is always a thing. Apparently not here, but you have to worry about queen h5 check again. You do have to worry about this diagonal. But I think here you're fine for a little bit. d4, e takes e5. I like this. E takes d4. Developing. Whoa, knight d6. Okay. All right. That might be a little much because you do hang the piece here. Knight takes b takes e6. All right. Unfortunately, there, Mikey did not see that this was covered. Bishop takes b4. Bishop f4. Bishop b4 checks c3, bishop d6. Okay. So looking pretty rough for white here in both games. Coming out, there have just been some tactical mistakes in the opening. So the computer likes the ice cold, just king e7, attacking this piece one more time. Eh, it actually thinks the two moves here, king e7 and king f6. So this is a dangerous position here. Very good, very well found. Right. You've got to move it. You're in check. I'm sorry. So now knight takes b7 is pretty fine. So you can capture, or you can play the ice cold queen c7 with the idea of threatening and then playing rook d8 and taking over. So solid play by Nuke Nacho, defending through that. Let's see what's happened here. Just a million things. So bishop takes c8, bishop, knight b4 is now coming. So threatening now this fork. Castles, knight c2. And this is entombed. There is nowhere that this rook is going. So knight c3, and I would probably I'd probably take it. Knight takes c3. There's no reason to allow for the trading of an exchange, a rook for a knight, which is still good, when you can just pick up a piece for free. But okay, rook is there. Now this was the wrong way because you needed to play knight takes e4 as the intermezzo here. Because now, okay, well they don't take the free piece. That's again, they're up by, and now they see a knight takes e3, rook e3, knight takes a2. This is looking rough. And if Ray can develop their bishops and rook, I think they can cruise to a pretty solid win here. Knight takes good. So we see some trading of material when they're up. Not many active threats that can happen. Another pawn up. So now it's three pawns and just a couple pieces here too. The rook and the bishop. Great, great game from Ray right now. All right, let's see how Mikey and Nacho are doing. Looks like rook b8 is played, and look at this, bishop a6, but you actually have a trap piece because now you can pin bishop c8 with the idea that if the knight moves, you have to play something like knight c5 there, I guess. So yeah, let's see how that works, right? The idea is you're attacking the piece twice. So bishop c8, knight c5 defending. You play bishop takes, knight takes, rook takes b2. And now the idea is that not only does black have a bunch, oh no, black's still up. I don't know why I thought white was up for a bit. Yeah, okay. Okay. This is just the way that it was before. Knight c5, rook a4, and so let's see what's happened here in Ray's game. Now this is dangerous. King is entombed. Now, all right. And the trade is no good. All right, so here, this is beautiful. Knight f3, king h1 in the corner now, and now bishop takes f1, and black can pretty much just mate at will. Rook d6. I wonder why they're not taking the rook, but that's okay. I want to see this game get finished off. So let's take a look. G5. White has almost no moves on the board. A lot of mate and twos. The idea is that rook d1 coming down is going to be pretty brutal, and that there's almost no conceivable move. This king cannot move. This okay. Yeah. All right. Fine. This is a totally fine way to checkmate and end the game. I like this. If you played rook takes g6, you could actually support bishop t2 mate, obviously taking, and this would be mate. And it is well played by Ray. They are 2 points on this, and very, very solid game. Just totally in the driver's seat the whole time. And really the big shot was in fact here. And it just has to do with some of these tactics involving this pseudo pin, this pin that isn't really there. So looking at this moment a little bit more, so going to d takes e4, which I think is the winning move of the game. So c4, d takes e4. So you can ask a couple questions here. What if you instead play bishop takes f6? Here, bishop takes f6 will hit the rook. And if you capture, you still have the same issue. You're going to trade off the queens, which is great for you as you're about to go material. So this piece is pretty stuck. There's not much you can do. There are actually 3 white pieces under attack, and black can just not save all of them. Very, very, very tough position after that point. So 0-1. Let's take a look at Mikey versus Nacho, how this is going. All right, so right now Mikey is down a piece, but he's got two pawns for it, if I'm seeing this right. Black is pretty active. He wants to find a spot to put these rooks. See b3, g5, advancing the pawns. Here, here as far as active plans, yeah, I mean, you can push the kingside pawns. You can use the fact that you have a knight to try attacking maybe this pawn as well, a2. You want to bring a rook to the fourth, to the second rank. So here, if you capture, this probably lets you into the game. So you can't actually take this pawn. King takes, and you have knight e2 as a fork. So that would be pretty bad. So this is actually a hanging pawn. It's tricky to see why. And we'll see if Nacho takes. They do not. A5. Now, maybe white wants to trade, maybe not. Trade. And here I don't like as much because you're going to possibly trade off. So F takes comes. And the question for white is, what active plans do they have? You can maybe play rook d1. It's tempting, but there are a lot of reasons I don't exactly like that. Knight f5 does get you out with check, but really the bigger issue is you really don't want to trade off these many pieces. If you get rid of all the rooks in this situation, I think it's a pretty easy win for black if they maneuver well. The idea is that they just have an extra piece. The knight can attack the weak spots of the pawn chain. Yeah, and if Chad has any questions or any suggestions, always down to hear from them. Otherwise, it's just me kind of rattling on, which I'm more than happy to do. So here, black can actually can take over the seventh rank, which is not as fun as it normally is because the king wouldn't be entombed back there. But you can start just picking off pawns. Okay, dangerous here. Peter likes rook d3. Okay. This Okay, and now this is the point where black really wants to start using the rooks and picking off the pawn. So h5 does fix this pawn here. If you play something like, rook d4, you can start making black think about this. Right now, it's tough because right now, hmm, if white tries to contest the d file, you have, captures, the rook ends up over here, and then knight on h4. So this might happen. So you can actually just take on h4 right now. Um, Black has nothing to fear from the trade of pieces here. Okay, interesting. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, the idea, of course, is to try and discover an attack, but you have a perfectly good attack to set up, and I don't see anything more valuable than that. If Black can centralize the king and start making trouble for some of these pawns, or really make something convincing out of this. So we see Rook b3. The idea being is to try and support these two passed pawns in their attempt to try and queen. And if you can dictate the action, that's good. Oh, okay. So here, king e4. Right. So this was the discovered attack. Did it really get black anywhere? I would say no. Knight f3 is a perfectly fine spot to put your piece, but I don't know. It's cute looking, and it's always, especially in faster time controls, good to set up kind of tactical cheapos. You just have to make sure there's a point. So here the question is, what has black accomplished yet? I really think they could have picked off the pawn on h4. I think this is the really obvious weak point. It's pretty easy to pile up on if black is not aware. You can even take over the d file and start playing something like, if you could play, imagine you can play right now this rook were gone, and you could just play rook check here. So now you can play rook b4 check. And the idea being is that you have skewered the king and the pawn has to move. And now you have a passed pawn. That pawn is not, you're not just picking it up for nothing. That generates your main counterplay and your way to bully out of the game. And again, another discovered attack setup, but this is huge. This is actually a really interesting tactical scenario. So now king e7, you can't capture yet actually because king f7 discovered check. So you have to retreat, but it's not the biggest deal. You just play like rook bd1 or something like that. I would say that Big Bar is starting to think that white is making his way back into the game, and really what you have to know is activity. This pawn is getting closer and closer to being a substantive threat, especially in a tactical sense. So computer likes knight b4, and it's hard to disagree. You're going to get that pawn on a2. All right, knight e7, that is not active. So now you play rook e1. king f7, rook d7. King f7 is forced, and rook d7 will pick up a piece. You have check, you have a move, and then you're going to trade the rooks, and you're going to get that knight, and now you are going to have two pawns up. Ah, okay, Mikey didn't see it, but that's unfortunate because you really do want to just look for the check and then maybe something after that. You know, Patzer sees a check, Patzer plays a check. Well, sometimes smart player sees the check and plays the check. So king c4, rook a4 will pick up this pawn, and then black can start pushing. Right now, it's going to be a question of time as well. Mikey only has 59 seconds left to play the whole game, and Nacho has 5 minutes to set this up. Again, I think rook e1 is a perfectly good move, and you can start pushing toward the queen side. So b4 comes. Computer takes a moment to think about it and then says, no, really, rook f4 is still the winning move here. Rook f4. And now if you play king d3, okay, king d5, it's a little dangerous. A takes, bishop, all right. I'm sorry, A takes. There's no bishops. And now takes h4. Interesting. Very tricky. They think rook d4 the only winning move. Wow, that is interesting. Okay, so we're gonna come back to that because that's a hugely interesting tactical sequence. So now we have two passed pawns. This is awkward. This is just an awkward position. And now Mikey. Oh, let's go back to the game actually. Yeah, c6 pushed. White is technically winning, but will they have enough time to finish off the game? Mikey with the 511 rating could take a win, but it's going to be tricky. So now there is almost nothing that black can really do. You can play rook b8, but you're going to march the king down. So going for a check, you can play anywhere. King b4, I'm not the biggest fan of actually, but it's probably okay. The problem is you can play rook g8 and have you can actually stop the pawn for a second. So near, you want to move the king off the file. He plays king c5. Check is played. Now the problem is if there is a flag here and it is not perpetual, and if it's perpetual but it's not 3-move repetition, black will win because there will be a timeout. But all right, now you play rook a8. No, Mikey. Sorry, pawn to b8 becomes queen. That's what you want to do. So king f5 comes, rook g2, huge think. Queen is here. Now you actually have some mating threats. Rook on the move. Rook b7 is mate if Mikey can find it. He does not. It's going to be a little bit trickier, but he had mate in one. Very tricky pattern. Okay, so now you want to set up your ladder. You want to play something like this, and this, and this. Okay, so this is fine. One move back, king g8 will lose immediately. So king f8 has to happen, and he has to know that's coming. And now it's mate in one. Rook e1. Mikey, play the ladder. No! Mikey's got to back rate him. Okay, now at this point, he's got just no time left on the board. And if he can find the mate, if he can find the mating pattern with the ladder, ah, black wins by timeout. Good practical play with the time. Absolutely had chances there. Victory for Nuke Nacho. Tragedy for Bravis Mikey. I wanted to go back to move 41 here, which I thought was really interesting. So c6 here. There is one move that saves the game, and it's the amazing. So we saw that if you trade off, you end up into this endgame where white might queen first. So here you play rook d4. If the king moves anywhere, you are going to pick off that rook free. So you take, and now take here. You have to play b5 to cover. And here, once again, black is winning, but it's tricky. But that was apparently a critical move. Very hard to play. All right, let's go back into the tournament. We have our last round coming up. So I'm going to get both games open. Wow, it's really funny how those really critical positions show up in games, and you just have to be so aware, even when it looks like you're coasting to a win. So this is the top board. Ray versus Nuke Nacho. Nuke Nacho with 1.5 points could win with just a straight win. Ray can draw and they would win. Now this looks like a pretty solid opening. So e4, d5, e takes d5, knight c3. Typically you see, queen a5. I think queen d6 is in vogue these days. But queen d8 all the way back is not the worst thing. So d4, knight f3. White's going to get a good chunk of the center, but black is Probably not going to be too bad. Ray's got a really solid setup here. They are just going to maybe think about some sort of kingside attack or just leave the options open. So bishop d3 here is interesting because it kind of admits that, after e6, maybe bishop c4 wasn't the right spot to put it, but nothing wrong with repositioning. So bishop g5, h6. Okay, interesting because that does provoke a weakness in front of the king. That's that's a target. You can start thinking about what that can give you. Bishop h4, and I think would love g5. The computer thinks it's plausible that black can get away with it. I think that's pretty tricky opening up that much in front of the king. But it's all about, so a5 here, the idea of trying to find maybe knight b4. But here, black is not as active in the center as they could be, kind of as a consequence of the opening. So bishop takes, knight b4, bishop takes, g takes. Wow, that is very risky, just considering. So let me just look at this again. I thought queen takes was just coming. Computer doesn't have a problem with it. So we'll come back to that. Knight takes d6. And now, we'll see if white can make some sort of kingside attack happen, or if black has traded off enough pieces. So now we have Jordan Ryan, who is on a half point, maybe a little bit surprising if you take ratings super seriously, versus Mikey, who's had two valiantly fought games and had some chances. So we have four knights. This actually does happen quite a bit. So a really goofy move that is fun to play is knight takes e5. D takes e5, or knight takes d5. So you've sacrificed a knight for a pawn. You then are going to play d4. This is the Halloween gambit. So if you're really looking for some crazy stuff to get out of the gloom, that's something. So this is the Scotch two knights. You are playing d4 quickly, more space for white. And now this queen is pretty centralized. So a bunch of moves happening pretty quickly. Queen a4, bishop d7, bishop b5. C6 kind of asks what you're doing. And now here b5 does pick up a piece. c5 played, the unveiled attack, but here queen b3, and you can start just targeting that weak pawn and see what can happen. So bishop b5 back. Interesting. Both sides playing pretty quickly. Mikey knows that he got flagged last game. King d7, and this maybe is relatively even, slight favor white. So Mikey here is inadvertently maybe fighting for this d5 square to put his knight on. This is a backwards pawn. This is a weak square. If he can trade off this knight, you maybe have something interesting. Though this bishop would be really good on f6. So let's see what happens. h6 takes on f6, takes on f6. So now you have an issue where either the pawns are getting doubled or you're giving up the b pawn, perhaps. So you have to be careful. But you have a bit of a tactical play here where you can play knight d5, bishop takes d2, rook b1, move back, and now you have knight b6, which would be an interesting fork. So rook a1 comes out, targeting the weak pawn. But again, king c7. Now this is interesting because you can just directly play knight takes d5 and maybe fork, cripple the pawn structure, and go into the endgame. So the score is for the whole tournament, Curly. It's not just for this one match. So this is a round robin of four people. Whoa, and I've already missed. Jeez. Okay, so this is what happens when I stick to a game too long. All right, so bishop. We were here, knight b4, bishop takes, and we were here, knight takes c takes, knight h4. A little bit dangerous, knight takes d3. And now queen g4 looked really fun. So let's see, queen g4, king f8. Now you can take. So an attack e5. Careful, and yeah. Okay. So here, I think Ray plays on a little bit, and then they do sportingly resign after this happens, and Nuke Nacho is up a lot of pieces. So Nuke Nacho will win the tournament with 2.5. Ray will be in second with 2 points. That is going to happen. So yeah, it's all about your tactics. Always is, especially in a fast time control. Good games, really solid. I thought Ray was playing really, really well the entire tournament, except for just one move and then two moves. It just happens. Well played by Nuke Nacho for sure, especially saving the last game. So here we are. Knight d5 is played. Check, king d7. Knight takes, g takes. Interesting. This is going to be a tough endgame, but really, white's pawns are healthier than black's. They're together. Double pawn, backwards pawn, isolated pawn. And we'll see if, if Mikey can make this happen. But it can be tricky in simple positions to bring it home, especially when you're new. So f5 is here. This is a pawn sacrifice to try and double White's pawns. G4 is played. That is wild because you're now going to give Black a little bit of play to activate the rooks by attacking the king. F takes, F takes, F takes. Rook takes F7 check. So Mikey calculating that he can win that pawn. King E8. And now if you can play a couple stuff. So Rook takes B7. So look at this. Mikey has gotten, the whole point was that Mikey has placed this rook on the F7 square and getting to the 7th rank. They then pick off another pawn. G3 is here. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking this. And neither do Mikey. Rook G8, Rook D3, King D8, Rook takes D6, another pawn. So King C8 or King E8. Now you just want to defend this. Mikey's been playing fast. He's got a good amount of time. This could be a pretty big upset as far as the numbers go. So Jordan's got to find a way to hold this. He is down 3 pawns. Yep, Jordan is down 3 pawns. And they're pretty brutal looking ones too. These 2 pawns do not defend each other. What's worse is that Mikey's rooks are very, very active. He can actually place both of them on the 7th if he wants, but he doesn't need to. He can actually just move this king up, defend this pawn, and start pushing whatever passed pawn that he wants. I think Jordan is smart to play fast at this point. Now you are going to essentially execution test whether Mikey can finish this endgame. So King E8. And right now, Mikey's not made an unbelievable amount of direct progress. But look, this king is entombed. This king can't go anywhere. E5. I'm not a big fan because rook takes G3 does not show up on the board. So here, rook E6, avoiding the trade, forcing King D8. And now there are a couple of things that you can do to be really annoying. You can place both rooks on the 7th rank. You can start targeting these pawns. There's a lot that can happen. So rook D6 does come out. And here, King C8, and now you have to decide what you want to do with this rook. I would put it on G7 or maybe E7 to try and bring one of these pawns up quite a bit. But we'll see what happens. I mean, you just kind of have to pick a plan and stick with it at this point. Okay, both rooks are going to the 7th rank. You have to be careful if you're black. You need to come up with a plan. So here, okay, this is actually a mate in 1. So rook C7 is a mating pattern. D6, totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. Interesting fun tactic with rook takes d7, rook takes d7 does have to be played actually. So here the mate is still available, but it's totally fine. Here, e7 is very winning, and I think that's probably what Mikey will play. I'm gonna guess it. You can actually guess by playing along. So g4, okay, not my favorite move because you're so close to. You have mate in 1 on the board, but maybe you don't see it. That's okay, or maybe Mikey can hear me, which is just a little bit awkward. Which is why I've been trying to do these games in post a little bit. So g4 is played. Here, Mikey wants to queen one of these pawns. So here, it's almost like it's always good to look at the captures, checks, and threats on the board. So if you look at a check, you notice either one of them, the king literally has no moves. Very, very blocked in king. But here, Jordan is making it complicated. They're just trying to offer a trade of as many pieces as possible. But here, if you take one, then that happens. So now he's just up a rook. So this is happening. Now you just want to defend. So let's go back a little bit to rook takes d8, because the question is what happens on rook takes b7 or king takes b7. You trade off the other rook. All right, let's go back a little bit because why not? So we're at rook takes d8. Here, king takes d8. You saw that it deflected the defender of the rook away. So Mikey picked up the extra rook. Here, if you play king takes b7, trying to mix it up, here you capture, and boom. Outside of the square of this pawn, as they say. This king needs to be closer and doesn't have enough time. Uh-oh. I need to not have done what I just did. Uh-oh. 1 second, everybody. I have destroyed everything. All right, back we go. Back we go. Okay, so it looks like the king has shown up. So let's see. Ooh, fun tactic. Okay. Mikey lured the king away, and again, it's that pawn square that I haven't explained at all. You can look that up. But essentially, there's no way that the king can get back, and especially because this rook is blocking the whole way. So this queen came, and now Mikey has to figure out how to checkmate most effectively. What I recommend for new players is just have the rook drop back, be defended by the king, and then just shuffle over to f7, queen here, rook here, and slowly trap the queen over. Let's see how Mikey's done. So Mikey has got to drive the king to the corner or to the side of the board and deliver the checkmate. And let's see how Mikey does it. So king h6, queen h6, king e5. Jordan is smart to stay in the center of the board. Will Mikey make a second queen? Absolutely could. There's really nothing stopping him if he sets it up. So you can just play, for example, queen d6 and just march another piece. But if you don't have the idea of how to finish the game, this can be tough. All right, so rook d6. I mean, it's not tough. It's a very overwhelming advantage. But if Mikey doesn't know how to finish this game, then we could be in for some trouble. This is why you want to have your basic mating patterns just really in your head. You could see a stalemate if there's trouble. Mikey has a lot of time. Hopefully he can find the winning moves here to block the king into some sort of corner or side. That's all you're trying to do. So something like, queen f4 to move him back, queen d6 to move the king back, and slowly just cut off ranks or files, one row at a time until the game is over. But it looks like Mikey is kind of stumped, which is tricky because you want to be careful. You always need to think about how many legal moves the king has. So the king can't go a lot of spots. So queen h8. And maybe the idea is that now the rook is defended, he's going to promote another queen. He's got to think of a way to make this game be over. Rook d5. Okay, so if I'm Jordan, I stay close to the center as possible. Here, plenty of options. You just want to drive the king toward the side. King f2, dangerous. You are not letting that king have very many squares, and you have given up a piece. So now, what I would probably just do is either that or here. The idea is just pick up that pawn. Just take the pawn. Nothing wrong with it. There is no shame in it. Get a second queen. Mikey slowly ticking down on time. Queen c8, king d3. Okay, and king and queen, totally easy to mate. All right, c4 is coming, so Mikey is going to make another queen. A little dangerous about the way he's doing it. I would have picked off that pawn, but I guess I would have done a lot of stuff that it maybe wasn't this. But that's okay. Can Mikey finish this game off? Right now, there is not yet insufficient mating material, so it wouldn't be a draw. It is conceivable that this pawn could become a queen, and that some sort of mate could manifest for black on the board. So b4 is played. A takes b4. All right, so now if Mikey takes, it's actually a practical point that he cannot lose. He can only draw. Okay, so now the draw is secure. A6 is coming. Here, if I'm black, I really just want to get some sort of stalemate trick going. So Jordan might think about that. So check is coming. So now he needs to not move this. He needs to play queen here and queen here. But you do have to worry about, I guess. I know he's blocked himself. Okay. Right. So now the problem is he's got the c pawn where the king can hide behind a little bit. So let's finish this game off. Let's make this happen. So now he is just moving those queens closer and closer. He's got an idea of how to make this king stop being alive. You want to make the king be dead. Honestly, what I would do, if I were Mikey, is just defend these 3 squares. So now you play king d1, and now you have mate on the board with, oh no, you just play the queen, Mikey. All right, Mikey, now play a queen. Play a queen, block this. Oh no, it was a draw. I think he accepted the draw. Mikey accepted the draw. Well, okay, he had mate and 1 on the board, and Jordan escaped with a draw. Very solid, strategic, tactical, I don't know. This would have mattered. Mikey could have gotten 3rd, and Jordan has saved himself 3rd in this tournament with this very, very hilarious swindle. If you're ever faced with this at home, you really want to look up your basic checkmates, your king, queen versus king, and your overkill checkmates, like 3 queens versus a king. Mikey, I'm sure if he has time, despite running all these tournaments and putting on these events in the stream to practice those, then he can definitely close those out. So Mikey had 2 games that he could have won that turned out very swindly. Very practical fighting chess today. A lot of fun. So that is, and we got Mikey in chat saying, I don't have these. And today, unfortunately, he did not, but he walks away with half a point. And I think that's what's important. Though, I'm not gonna lie, that one did matter. That one hurt a lot. So kind of, surprising if you go by ratings. Nuke Nacho taking home the 2.5 out of 3. And I think everyone probably wants to play more. So I'm gonna ask Mikey what people want to do. So I might actually just join the next one. So that was the round robin that we had with 4 people, but I think everyone is down to play a little bit more chess. So I am happy to do that as well. And also surreptitiously just watch the other games if I can make it happen. But also down to not play. So let's see what happened. Just looking at the chat in here. People want to play double Swiss because the idea is that you can get white and black. And everyone has 2 matches with each other. Nuke Nacho, the champion, says, I caught everybody lacking tonight, and that is true. So it looks like we're gonna play a little bit more because why let the chess night end? Chad, how are you doing? Double Swiss to be cool, and Mikey, I don't have to play. I think it's probably not the point of me commentating. If I'm just essentially streaming a bunch of games against people. So double Swiss is cool. Could even go 5+2 or something like that. We are right now trying to get another tournament set up with probably the same people. Wonder if anyone else in the PSU Altoona chess club or anyone outside wants to play. Mikey had stepped in because you do need 4 people to run a tournament. 5 is actually an awkward number because someone does have to wait out a lot of the time. That's not quite ideal. But right now, I think we have Bookworm, but she is offline, so probably not going to get into a 3+0. People are now bargaining down the time control to just shorter and shorter. All right, so there's a new tournament up. Let's see what's up with people. Looks like I'm still on my analysis board. Run it back. Looks like it will be another 3-rounder, 10 minutes. It's going to start in 10. Sorry, I didn't see that. All right. It's going to be another 10+0, I think. And probably the same 4 people would be good. And yeah, you need to wait 12 minutes or something like that before the tournament can start, unfortunately. Yep. Rave definitely wants to reclaim their honor. Nacho wants to see if they can catch everyone lacking again. We're gonna see if we can get an interview with our 4th place champion, the cheat.
What do you
Mikey, it hurt.
Yeah, that was not good.
You did your best. I liked when you made it so. So do you know when you took the pawn, then it would be a draw if you got timed out?
That dawned on me. Yeah. Not immediately
that was awesome
when it happened.
Yeah, because then it's then you at least get that half point.
And I got some big points for that as far as elo goes. I think that was plus.
Oh yeah, your elo is nuts. I mean, you got a big mega draw.
It got boosted. That's for sure.
I'm not going to show you the main ones, but do you want me to show you just the pattern of how to do that?
Please do.
Okay, so yeah, so let's get a quick lesson. Let's get some coaching from Mikey. I thought you played really well that third game.
Yeah,
I
I
thought
think
that
I
was a
got. I came out, did some aggressive
Mikey's getting
things,
torn up
got into.
in the Discord. Mikey's getting
I
absolutely decimated. Everyone's just like, I was really hoping you didn't know how to do this thing that I'm about to teach you. So watch out. Home. I've got my diamond membership. I forget why, because I am a loser. Let's go lead chess all the way. Let's see. So let's go to lessons. So we're gonna go to lessons. If you can see my screen, let's go to end games, and we're gonna go to not the hard ones like rook versus knight versus rook, rook and knight versus rook by GM Ivan Sokolov, endgame champion. Let's go to level beginner. Maybe no results found.
there is no helping me.
It's just like you're screwed.
It's over.
All right, now there's definitely like you learn and you just like practice, maybe guide how to move the pieces. Yeah, all right, here we go. Intro to book openings, understanding endgames. Man, this is already intermediate. This is not what I want. Okay, I can show lead chess, right?
The Wikipedia article has been cited to me.
Like he's getting linked, kid. Wikipedia. All right, so we're gonna go to practice, and we're gonna go to basic checkmates. So we're gonna go to queen versus rook mate, and here's the idea: you are going to have the rook and the queen protect each other, or the queen is gonna protect the rook, and you're not gonna be able to get to the queen if you're black. So here, I'm just gonna make this as easy as possible. So here's what you do: you're gonna cut off row after row. So you're gonna put the rook here, you're gonna put the queen here. See, black can't cross these lines anymore. And you're going to do that. You're going to do that. And you literally just move it. So 2 rooks, it's similar. You just have to occasionally move a rook so black doesn't take it. So like here, it's a little annoying. Oh, you're going all the way over here. No way you're ever catching me. Oops. Doesn't matter.
This makes sense.
We're not going to do queen and bishop mate. We're going to do queen mate. You're going to put the king in a box, and you're going to bring the king over to help. So now you're going to try and put him in a small box. Small box. You're not letting him out. You're not letting him out of the small box. Now, when he's on that, boom. Now the king is trapped in prison. He can't go anywhere past here. He can't go here. Just don't stalemate. You always need to let the king get a square. And then you just make the queen touch the king. So these are I'm just gonna show you. The idea is you just always cut off the king in some way. Now this one's advanced. Leffen did mess this up, so don't feel too bad about it. It was very funny. Let's waste a move. So you see, that's the setup. You have the king blocking those squares, the rook driving the king further back. So now I'm gonna make him face me, and you see here, king is blocking those, rook's going to block these. And he has to step back. And so engineering that is actually, there's a little bit of tricky math involving like whose turn it is. Like there's a little bit of even odd stuff, which is what confuses everyone. But this is the idea. King can't cross here. Boom.
So, yep.
So the idea is you always want to think of how can I make these boxes? How can I cut the king off? So I can even just, so I can do, okay, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do this. Uh-oh, it's a draw. Why is it a draw? Because he doesn't have any squares to go. That's the one thing you got to worry about. Mikey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the danger. This is what H God did.
He only loses when he chooses.
He only loses or draws when he chooses. But
sometimes he draws when.
Sometimes he draws when he chooses. So literally a move that isn't that is good. This is a fun one. So now let's just move the rook. Here is also still bad because you still have the stalemate. So let's just do this and then boom. So it's called the ladder checkmate. chesskid.com. Don't do this to me.
All right, we're going to the Wikipedia article, everyone.
We're going to boys. The plan is simple. We're gonna mate. How much time you got? You got 4 minutes. You don't need another player, right? You're good.
No,
4
we're
is good.
good.
Okay, yeah. And five is awkward. Look at all of these fascinating, cool patterns. So you actually had a cool one in your game that happened, where if we go to Mikey's games, let's check on Mikey's games. Let's go to the last one. I can analyze these for you because this is what I do now with my money, apparently. Accuracy is not. We're not going to worry about.
That's looking like
So here
oh
you played a great move, which was going up the rook. That was really good. But if you go there, the game is over. That's okay. We all miss those. You played fast, you played good, you didn't drop any pieces. You defended yourself, and you stay looking for chances, and that's the most important thing.
Yep. Second most important to not having looked up ladder mate on Wikipedia before I entered this tournament.
This is actually not that helpful. This is just a picture. This doesn't explain anything to me.
This is one sentence.
This is just the king is checkmated. You win the game. But they call it the ladder because you literally just like keep moving the rooks next to each other.
Yeah.
And that's the idea. What you want to do is you want to just cut off the king in those situations. That's endgame 101.
Yep.
Cut off the king.
I'll get there one day. And if not,
yeah, you will.
That's all right.
All right, I'm going to play the worst game of bullet possible right now. Oh god. My things are over. Oh, he's going fast. He's going fast. I'm going slow. I don't like it. Because, like, your pieces just teleport onto the board. And that's not fun for me. So they're just going too fast. Uh-oh. Bad stuff's happening now.
Ooh.
This is fine. Don't get checkmated. Don't get checkmated me. At G6. Yeah, we're going back.
Ya.
We're going back. That's fine. I'm out of here. This is okay. Hopefully he drops a bunch of pieces. That'll be good for me. Let's do that. That's not good. But I can play this. Okay, he's going back. That's fine. Oh, that's really bad. I shouldn't have done that. Yep, he figured it out. He's a genius. Queen G5? You madman.
Genius of the game. P-Sock P.
Yeah, that's... P-Sock P is unreal. F6? I don't want F6. Pre-move. Oh no, he's threatening pieces. I don't like this. Oh, it's dangerous. Why can't I play the moves that I thought were legal? Oh no, I dropped the pieces. Shit. All right, I gotta boozle. Come on. Yes.
Hey.
We're gonna trade pieces now. Uh-oh. That's fine. Oh, I lose. I actually lose. Oh
GG.
no. That was very bad.
Bit of a blundy.
Looks like that game slipped through your fingers.
Have you played the Ludwig bot?
I have, yeah. It shit talks.
Absolutely. All right.
But it also plays King E2 like instantly. So wait, no, I don't want to go to mine. That's not good for me. I want to go to see how many minutes. Okay, we have 40 seconds. Rough blitz game for the boy. Bullet is for madmen. Looks like that slipped through my fingers. It really did.
Do not start
That was
with
a very
chess.com.
That was pretty rough. That guy was a legend.
All right. Headphones off. I'm getting into the gamer zone.
Let's go.
See you
All
on the
right.
other side.
Good luck. All right, we are starting in with Run It Back. Round 2, we are going to play another round robin with these 4 players. We have Let's Ray V, Jordan Ryan 44, Nuke Nacho TV, our previous champion, and our our 4th place champion, Bravis Mikey, who did draw. He got a draw. That happened. All right. So, wait, did I? Oh no, did my browser history have me Googling the large woman from Resident Evil? That may have happened. So let's see if Mikey has learned anything from my terrible, terrible lesson. And, we'll see what happens. All right, it looks like we should be going. Oh, there we are. All right, we got our games. Clocks are started. Battling is happening. So let's see. We've got Jordan Ryan versus Mikey, the rematch. E3, an opening for gentlemen. D4, I don't really enjoy when you could just play C3, but maybe knight C3 was a move that was, oh, B4. Oh, wild man. Okay, is he going to play C4 and C5, just trying to trap this bishop? It doesn't have to happen. C7 or A7 will happen. Knight F3. So we're back to normal development for a bit. This could be dodgy for white. Let's go back to Nuke Nacho versus Let's Ray V, the rematch. Oh, wow. E4, E5, Knight C3. F4. So this is the Vienna game. D6 shows up. Knight F3 is probably book. Okay, takes Knight F3. I don't know. I think it's probably a good trade for black, but maybe not. I have to think about it. I don't know. I don't know Vienna unbelievably well. So bishop c4, perfectly fine development. Bishop e6. So it's the question of who wants to trade where. And if bishop takes f6, you do have double pawns, but those double pawns do control a lot of squares. But they are isolated. I don't know. So bishop e3, Nuke Nacho does trade off. A takes b3, queen e7. And, relatively even game. This diagonal is going to be a little bit tricky for a lot of the game. It's the problem with the f4. So king h1, a good prophylactic move by Ray V to protect their king in that situation. Now, let's see what Nuke Nacho ends up doing with the game. d4 is always to think about as far as active plans. And then you also want to see if you can engineer some pressure against e4. But we'll see. We'll see what Nacho decides to do there. All right, so a4 is coming. We are just pushing these pawns. Not the worst thing, because Mikey's going to be able to castle kingside. And that's probably where Jordan Ryan's going, looking at the development as well. Thinking about that. So a5 is played, and the idea here is to stop a5 from white. But okay. If takes, I'm not the biggest fan because you've just made it a little bit easier to attack this backwards pawn and made it, a little bit easier. Bishop a6 is actually a beauty of a move, I think, at some point, because you are actually going to prevent the king from castling. White's light squared bishops off the board. Okay, bishop takes a5. And, I gotta like black a little bit, even though the development's a bit behind. Pawn structure is not so bad, and you get this active b file. And we gotta find some spots to put our pieces and also not allow the c pawn to fall, which would fall with check and a fork if the knight moved. So if something like knight a3, imagine this knight weren't there, you would have bishop takes c3, which forks. So that you gotta think about what to do. Queen c2 is possible, queen c4. Mikey castle's, I think, very reasonable. And now d5, which is interesting. This d5 stops c4, which would, I guess, allow white to solve his problem of what's going to happen. I don't know. Here, it's really just going to be the question of how white untangles his king side and what black decides to do and where they decide to put their pieces. Really interesting game that can happen. c5 can be played twice, attacking this pawn structure. You have a bunch of backwards pawns, isolated pawn. A lot of choices for what either side could attack. Jordan Ryan moving fast again. Got a bit of a time lead. So let's go check on Ravi Nacho. Oh boy. Wow. Do we have a stunner that can come? So knight takes a7, knight takes a7, knight takes f7. So explain to me knight takes f7. How does that work? Magic computer. Let's go back, because queen h5 is also really good looking. Knight b5, 8. So here if knight takes f7, what happens if takes? Oh shoot, I'm sorry, I forgot. It's the f pawn is gone. So you can just take it. Okay, so a lot of targets for whites and knights. Queen takes h5, very reasonable move. Just the question of how you can get everything away. I mean, plenty of stuff to take. Knight takes f7, rook takes, or knight takes, rook takes. So here, picking up a pawn is probably not the max that you can do, but you're also going to drive the king into the center. White's pieces are coming alive, and Nick Nacho is going to be under a lot of pressure to defend this in a practical way. So here, rook takes f7 is brutal because if the queen moves, and it's hard to find a spot for the queen to move, you always have to worry about, this would be mate, rook e8 mate. Really fun game. So queen g4 check played. Only a couple moves that you can play. f5 is possible, rook e6 is possible, and king b8, which I probably like the best just because you take away rook a8 check. So here, the computer likes bishop e3. You can play the rook back, but you do have to worry because this piece is now attacked 3 times. You have to make sure, um, you're not giving anything away here. So just to show, if something like here, you have the extremely interesting checkmate, rook e8 check, deflecting to the brutal spot. So that's just a threat on the board that you have to worry about. So let's see what happened in the game. Oh, it happened! Wow, okay. So bishop takes g5 happens on the board. Rook e8. Nice. Nice shot. Well played. That is a great, great checkmate because a7 is blocked. Great pattern. That's a heater. Whew. They're popping off in the Discord over that one. Beauty. Damn. That was cute. All right, so let's see what's happened in Mikey versus Jordan. So bishop f5, c4 castles. So now Mikey has a couple options. If you play c5, you are making it a little bit harder for you to attack these pawns. c4 is tricky because the question is what do you do with it? c5, bishop a7. So here white is fighting pretty well for the square. I'm sorry, for this square. So we can maybe play rook b7 in the future and get everything to the 7th rank and use all this queenside space that he's got. Ray and Nacho talking after the game. Ray says, "A shame you declined the Vienna Gambit. It's one of my favorite lines." And Nacho says, "I have no clue what those are, but I'm happy for you." Vibe. And here, knight e5, bringing the knight to a good square and starting to take eye at some of these weak pawns. f6 is possible, and it's a little bit annoying. It creates a couple weaknesses of its own, but it would drive the knight away. And it's the reason this outpost isn't, the perfect spot to put the piece. You can think about knight here, here. So a lot of stuff you can do. You just have to find an active plan and go with it. Do you want to try pushing on the queen side? Do you want to maybe cycle your pieces back toward the king, or do you want to try and fight for this outpost a little bit? So knight b3 comes out. The question is, where does the knight go from here? It defends that pawn, but not much else. It's not going to a5. I don't know. Let's check my messages. That was nothing involving the game. Cool game. Cool game on the other side. So here we have bishop e4. So we have another spot where you have this outpost protected hard, but f3 can drive the piece away. You could play f6, but I think the trade is probably good for white in the end, according to Big Bar. And Big Bar thinks this game is just about, fighting even. It really depends. Oh, g4 is coming. This is double-edged knife chess. This is huge because you are trying to push, gain space, drive all of black's pieces into passivity. But if this goes the other way, then black has a ready-made attack against your now kind of weak king. But your rook is able to swing over. I don't know. This is far from over. And for what it's worth, the computer now wants you to go all in and play f4 g5 and try and push your pawns toward their king. It is going to be there are a lot of things that could happen. So let's see what does happen. Queen e3, queen c8. What the plan is a little bit hard to see. You've got to bring this very, very bad bishop back into the game. That's really actually a huge thing. So this just drops a rook. That's just probably that's just probably it. But I wanted to note that this bishop does not have any good squares. This to go to b8 and go anywhere else, you have to somehow move this pawn, which can't happen. Oh, missed it. So now this is hanging. Two attackers, one defender. Mikey picks it up. Huge advantage. Big, big swing. This is called the Woodley Gambit, where you just hang a piece and you just kind of see what happens. You saw my bullet game. Woodley Gambits are real. They can happen to anybody in Wood League. So now you can actually start attacking this because you have the active rook. You're going to have two attackers and only one defender. This bishop is just still going to do nothing for the whole game, unfortunately, unless a lot really changes very quickly. So you can try bringing this knight into the game, giving up the fact that you are going to not be able to defend this pawn anymore, after which point white will have a pass pawn. These doubled and now backwards pawns are kind of sitting ducks. So here, Mikey is bringing both rooks into the game. He has 3 minutes of time. Can he get revenge and can he checkmate Jordan Mine from another winning position? This one, I will say, is a little bit lopsided. I don't think there's anything wrong with bishop h6 here. It doesn't do an unbelievable lot. I don't think there's anything wrong with just getting the bishop into the game. So here, you can still play knight a5, attacking this piece. You can even start to just see if you can pick off this bishop. You can play something like rook a8, and then you can play knight a5, rook a6. You can play a lot of stuff. So here, Mikey is trying to find a spot for this knight to go. He does not find knight a5 as his plan that he wants to do. 2 minutes and 38 on the clock. This is tricky because you can think for a lot and not come up with a move that really changes the position very much. So you can burn 30 seconds and then not change too much. So here, Mikey should just take, or this is totally fine as well. So here, the threat is rook a8, which would then pin the bishop, and it'd be hard to even go anywhere. That even if you go to a7, you're just going to get picked off. This is the bad bishop. This is the worst bishop there can be. So now rook a8 would pick it up. Well played. Okay, and here, you are still hanging this f5 pawn, which you do have to worry about. Now, if you had played bishop here, you do have to worry about king safety even, you know. So now knight e7 is played, pick up the piece. This would be dangerous, but there's not much you can really practically do. So now I would take bishop takes g5, or you can capture here. Either way, these are really dominating positions. So bishop takes g5 picks up more material. Mikey moving faster. Jordan still has a heavy time advantage. But if you don't have any pieces, we'll see what can happen. Mikey is going to try and trade off the last pieces and make a queen. So here you can capture. I would not have. That does hang the piece. Nope. Sorry. That is still okay because the rook is pinned. So now I would probably just capture or take here. Both are fine. So now you're trading off every piece on the board. And then you are going to force a queen through. So bishop here. Interesting, Mikey found a spot that will save it because it's defended with this x-ray. So here, I would trade off. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you can attack these pawns. But you need to come up with these plans and come up with them quickly. Under time pressure, anything can happen. Black trying to find a way to defend and create some active threats. If I were him, I would try and find a way to go for d4. I don't know if you can. It might not be in the cards, d4, f3. So how do you get there? You would have to. So f4 is coming. Mikey already thinking about queening that pawn. But rook takes g4 will be check. And you're letting him get a little bit more activity than I'm really excited to let him have. Okay, so h6 coming to try and stop at g5, which I think is a reasonable threat, but what's wrong with just playing this? I did not enjoy this. You are still not you still don't have this pawn defended. Mikey definitely thinking about making that queen. He's got the queen on his mind. Now the question is, can he get there with enough time? I think what you want to do in this spot, if you're Mikey, is simplify matters. Get this piece off the board. Get this rook into the game. Get this knight into the game. Now there's really no problem with just either takes and g5. I mean, you can play a lot of different ways here, but Mikey's got to pick an option and he's got to pick it quickly. Jordan thought for quite a while. So f5. H takes g4 just come. I really would like him to take this. Take this rook, just get it off the board. And then you can maybe even just play h5, h6 if you can get rid of this knight. So he plays h5. Knight takes f5 is possible. Rook takes b8 and knight takes f5. So knight takes f5 does show up on the board. And let's hope Mikey can figure out a way to realize that trades are good for him in this type of scenario. 50 seconds on the board. This is dangerous because he is winning by a lot, but if he flags, he will lose the game. So he's got to find a way to finish this game, but it looks like he might time out. Everything is going good. We played one round robin where Nuke Nacho did win. Now we are replaying it. Knight g3. Okay, this does hang the rook. Not a big deal, g3. The king is there. Knight a5 does inadvertently defend it, and now Mikey has hit on the plan of attacking these pawns. And we'll see how that works out for him. But I really think it's going to come down to time. Jordan is... If I were Jordan, I would think about just also playing really fast. Just give Mikey no absolute time to think. Now, knight f5. All right, so rook is here, which prevents the trade. So now Mikey's got to think of which way he wants to go. Knight takes c6, totally reasonable. Knight e5, going for this. So this is not that dangerous. That king is there. You know, knight g3, knight f2, or I'm sorry, knight g3, knight e2. You do have to worry. Now things are kind of fun. King e6, rook e8. Now this king is kind of in the open and you can start attacking it if you want, but it looks like Mikey is probably going to go down on time here. He does hang it, but that's fine. This is actually genius. This, I think, is the fastest winning line. This is a beautiful move. Rook 1 b6. The idea is if takes, rook takes. And you're gonna... Wow, that is... It looks like a blunder. And it probably was a blunder, but that is actually a really interesting move. Because if takes. So he takes, rook takes b6. And if king e7, you actually have made on the board. King e7, bishop f6. And, you know, either way, can't go here. Can't go here. And it's gonna be checkmate. So rook takes b6. And so knight d6, c takes d6. And you're gonna queen. You're gonna queen quickly. That's an unbelievable move that not only was possible, but appeared on the board. And unfortunately, Mikey flagged. Oh, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. Mikey once again flagged. And this time there will be no draw because black does have the potential to mate white. So we have Ray and Nacho. I'm sorry, Ray and Jordan on 1-1. And Mikey and Nacho on 0-0. Brutal. And that's chess. So let's start up the next games. So we've got Mikey versus Nacho because they're going to be paired together. They both have 0. It's Swiss, but it's going to function like round robin. And Jordan and Ray are gonna have a rematch. Last time Ray had a pretty crushing win after some opening tactics. So Nacho opens d3, d5, knight c3, e6, e4. Okay, in a roundabout way, contesting the center. You've got kind of a funny looking French. E takes, queen e2 check, bishop e7, knight f3, knight c6. Pretty normal. You know, black has more space in the center, is developing well, and if black castles and puts a rook here, you have a little bit of pressure, and you have to figure out where that bishop's going. So knight g1. That is a bizarre... That is a bizarre anti-development from white. So we'll see what happens. All right, so let's see e4, e5. Kind of an offbeat opening. I always thought the idea here was like if they play c6, that's not where they wanted that pawn. So now the knight can't defend. but I still feel like you play c6 and d5. I don't know, but a6, bishop, a4, b5. And now, if you want to go for cheapos, you play like c5, hoping for c4. But what you probably do is you try and attack d5 a little bit. So now this bishop's on a good spot. This can come here. Knight c6, knight f6, gambit. In some positions, you can actually get away with just sacrificing this pawn. That's correct. And I think this is one of them. Like you play knight takes e4, d takes e5, and you have a bunch of weird, interesting threats against the king and all the hanging pieces. So knight takes, knight takes, knight takes, queen takes. Um, e takes, I think you should play like e5 or castle. You do want to just give this piece up in these sort of these Spanish, normally emerging from the Spanish or the Ruy Lopez opening. You want to just castle. You want to develop. You really can just push your advantage in the center there. I think if you capture instantly as black or as white, that's not so good for you. So you just queen takes, and now c5 is okay. This is the threat that I was talking about. This is actually a classic idea that I always forget about until it happens to me. So c5, then you move somewhere, and then c4, and that's brutal. So this is, I forget what it's called, like the Noah's Ark trap. Someone calls it something. So that is something you have to worry about in this position. It kind of did show up on the board, but I think we ignored it. Bishop g5, bishop e7, castle c5. Okay, here we go. And now c4 shows up on the board. Ray finds it again. Great tactical play from Ray so far. Here, d5, and they are engaging in trades, taking over the open. And that's fine because bishop takes also will just trade off the piece. And it looks like, let's see, emerged a piece ahead for 2 pawns so far. Right, a piece ahead for 2 pawns, but black with a lot of activity. So it looks pretty good for black. And now here, white, it looks like has achieved some sort of tactical shot. This is apparently the idea here. So let's see what's happened a little bit. So after knight g1, which was a little bizarre, knight d4, which was a great move. Queen d2, knight g4. Okay, knight f3, h6, knight takes d4 did hang the piece. And that's really kind of where we ended this. Now knight takes d5, picking up another pawn. So yeah, it's again tactical awareness in the opening, but I think here there was something better. So queen e2, bishop e7. And so now thinking about it, they really like queen f3, and the idea is, why is this? Oh, wait, this hangs a piece. This actually just hangs a piece. This is just queen takes d5. What's going on here? And Mikey doesn't see it castles. He believes his opponent. He trusts his opponent, and now knight takes e7 check is brutal. And now queen takes, and that's undefended. That's going to be a free queen. Very unfortunate for Mikey. You do maybe eventually have the shot with Rook 8, but not yet. That is undefended. That would be game over pretty quickly. So maybe if you're black, you try and go for some sort of trick. You play. I don't know. It's hard to even think because here you have knight takes f5. So now you're gonna trade basically a bishop and rook for 2 pieces. Here you can just take. There's nothing threatening about rook e8 check. Yeah, that's it. And Mikey does resign. A very reasonable choice there. Down a lot of material. Just the tactics did not come. Solid game from Nacho. Other than that weird opening, things worked out well. Tactics are most important. Let's go back to Jordan versus Ray, where no. Going back. We're gonna go back to here. So there's a big issue here. Right. Okay, wait. No, I'm sorry. Ray is black, they're black, and they were winning, and they're still winning. So this is a queen trade when you're down. This is a tough choice to go with. Because right now, just queen takes g3, and I am not seeing anything too crazy about it. And you can go for it, but I guess, yeah, this is fine. I just wonder if it maybe would have been easier to target the c-pawn with the queens on the board, but I don't think so. I think now you breathe a sigh of relief that there's no queen tactics coming. And now it's just going to be endgame technique. White has a passed pawn. but black has an extra piece. So what they're going to do is lock down the dark squares. And we'll see how that manifests. You want to put your rooks somewhere. You're definitely not afraid to trade them. That's totally fine for you. Bishops will do really well in these sort of endgames with pawns on opposite wings. And, but we'll see what happens. So it's a 10-0 game, no increment. So you don't get to kind of rely on that. If you have increment in an endgame where you're winning, you often just get to make nothing moves and just think for a little bit. And you just kind of get that free time back. Okay, so here the name of the game is the dark squares are lava a little bit for white. You always want to be careful of that. And that's a problem right now because now there is boom, which I'm actually surprised Ray did not see. All right, now that the bishops attack, they might think about it. Okay, never mind. All right, well, it happens. You saw me lose that bullet game on stream. The interesting thing here is that if you play like rook b4, you can play bishop e7 and deprive this piece of any defenders. So here it looks like Ray is going to try and keep it as simple as they can. So now 2 attackers, 1 defender, no attacker, or no defenders here. So no matter what, it's a little bit tough. And it looks like one of these pawns is going to fall, if not both. I would probably take either way you want. Here, I don't know, because now you can't take on a4 because you do have this x-ray through. But here, you do have to worry. This is attacked twice, so this does have to move. So that will drop the rook, if I'm not mistaken. Now rook takes c3, and that's probably resignable. And we'll see if Jordan does. Or if they take their chances with raise. For a second, I saw red in the connection. Yeah, member offline, so something's happening there. Weird. Okay, so rook takes c3. Yeah, so it looks like some internet issues. So maybe that's a point. So now you're going to see this rook get placed somewhere safe. So I would even just play h5. So you can never attack this rook. Rook a4, and now they're just going to probably pre-move a bunch. Yeah, rook a8 all the way back. Nothing to worry about. And now we have a bunch of pre-moves. So the queen is going to come, and we're probably going to see a ladder mate. Or something a little bit flashier, because you can. So the question is whether Jordan will think about how to make some sort of stalemate trap happen, use the time that's happening, will they play it out, or will they resign? But it looks like Ray is going to get the revenge so far, going up 2-0, only to play Mikey left. And you got to imagine that if you're Ray, you feel pretty good about that. And Jordan has just
Come on.
commented, "Damn,
Come on,
realizing his
man.
fate." Sorry, Mikey. Mikey, I'm sorry. Okay, here, look, ladder mate.
I'm observing.
See the pre-moves? They're just nowhere to go. Gotta go back to the A file. And I predicted the moves. All right, I did it.
Crazy.
All right, Mikey, you have to win this tournament now. You are the only person who has not lost yet to Let's Ray V. Can you do it, Mikey? Look, you could have won that first game. The second game got away from you. But that third game last tournament was very good, and that's what I expect again. You can do it.
All right. I'm going in.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It might be a hard one. Right, looks like we are starting... what's going on here? Last round start yet? Yeah, there we go. Okay, there's the pairing. So we've got the last people that haven't played each other in this round robin yet. So we've got Nuke Nacho versus Jordan Ryan, both of them sitting on 1-1. This is going to be a neat match. Whoever wins can catch Ray if Mikey does beat them, which can happen. It might be tricky. So E3 does come out again. You do see that. D4, knight C3, knight C3, knight F6, knight F3, T5. So black is just establishing a strong center. If takes, you actually do have a hanging pawn here, though. So that's an issue. D5 is a little premature because this pawn is now attacked twice and defended once. Bishop B5, Nuke Nacho does put indirect pressure on the E5 square a little bit more. And now we would just capture and capture. Sorry. So always got to be aware in the opening. Opportunities present themselves. Bishop e2. They didn't want to trade it off. The problem is this pawn is now going to be defended or traded. And so now black has probably a practical advantage. Let's check up in on this game, moving very quickly. E4, D5. Mikey is playing the Scandinavian defense. Queen E6 comes out. And the early queen trade. Now, this is maybe not so bad for black, but white does have two quickly developed pieces. But against a better player, Mikey is now not going to get attacked with the queen. That can go either way. You can generate a lot of threats and make some upsets. Bishop takes kind of unprompted. Probably the two bishops here will be a good advantage that might be good for Ray. So let's see what Ray does. E5, I love it. Opening up the center. Oh, I don't love it actually because you can just play bishop takes c6, d takes c6, and pick up the pawn, removing the defender. Let's see what happens. D5, E4. Oh, we're going crazy. And again, I think here you actually have a problem. D takes, E takes there, rook b8. This is probably, according to the computer, Big Bar says bad news for black and our hero Mikey, but knight takes e4 comes out. This could have gone worse. B takes, knight takes. Now we have a bunch of stuff just attacked at once. This is hanging. This pawn is hanging. And it's going to be hard to defend both, but you can with the magic move castles long. Knight e3 is played. And I don't understand at all why this is a thing. Can't you just take it? Like you just take it, but Ray doesn't do it. Just plays rook c1. A sporting move. All right. It looks like it's going to be a tough one for Mikey in this one. All right, castles. I like to see it. Knight d7 does fork both of these rooks. So we'll see if Ray finds that. We're going to go back to Newcroc. Now, what happened here? What? All right. So we played back. This pawn was defended. H4. Wow. Legends. All right, so here e4 does fork two pieces. All right, we're not going to play that. H5 attacking. The problem is here that it'd be cool if black had a castle kingside. But they don't. Wow, this is like, where's white's king going to go? And now he's not getting forked. I'm confused, but this is cool. This is a wild pawn structure. You have two isolated F pawns. The G file is open. The king is in the center, and well, where are they going? Where's this bishop going? So many weird possibilities for this game. I like that. That's fun to watch. Let's go see how Mikey's doing. All right. So last we left him was here. Knight a6. Wow. Why? I guess you trade, right? Because bishop takes a6, bishop takes c6, and this is good for you. Now you can pick up another exchange here, but Ray elects not to. Takes. And again, we have another one of these endings where Ray is up a piece for a pawn, and they can maybe just ice this one out because these pawns are pretty weak. They are all on dark squares, and there's a light squared bishop, but you can also just trade instantly. So let's see, bishop e8. I'm not sure. Wait, why not take with the bishop? Yeah, there were a lot of spots where I actually thought here this would be totally fine. Oh, and the game is over. I think Ray played relatively docile moves on some spots just to keep the game going. But right here, all of a sudden, what happened? All right, so here, all right, so that's going to be a trade. Oh, Mikey just doesn't accept it. Thinks the rook is defended, maybe? I don't know. Definitely trying to queen those pawns. Doesn't quite happen. They all trade off. It looks like Ray very quickly takes all the material on the board, and Mikey resigns. Maybe worth trying for a stalemate, but I don't think it's going to happen. So that is a tournament win for Ray with a perfect 3-0 score. Very good job to them. Let's take a look at this game, which is wild. And wait, the queen's hanging? What's going on? Black is just attacking the hell out of white. I gotta go back. So we were here, and then like white was kind of back into it for a second, but is a little pinned up. Queen is coming in. Okay, opening up some lines. I'm not the biggest. Ooh, okay. So this is cool because uh, Nuke Nacho is trying to open up to this king, which is still not defended. Long castled would actually probably then the move. This is hanging, right? But knight takes, and here you can play queen takes e4 check, but then queen e5, and you trade off, and I think you're down material. And that just hung everything. Okay. Whoa. Oh, this is cool. This is a cool move. So rook takes g4. So you do actually have to be careful here because you do have this great pickup here. Get the rook in the corner. There you have the very dangerous knight ed2 check or knight c3 check. An unveiled knight c5 is coming. All right. I don't know if that was the most brutal, but it doesn't matter. Knight b6. And now this rook is being hassled. I wonder if there's some sort of mating pattern. Maybe not yet with that bishop. But you have something interesting where you can play like knight e4 and try and play some check along this file, and you're starting to wonder where the king can go. So here, you can maybe play, I don't know, something that just moves the queen a bit. So he plays here. The idea is just to take or to threaten. It looks pretty. It looks pretty over, but you never know. So knight takes f4 does hang. So bishop takes f4. But there's probably tactics here. So you play like queen takes c4 and you're threatening everything. But there's nothing concrete yet. It's not the cleanest conversion yet. Jordan moving fast. I mean, he's got plenty of time. So bishop takes c7 is played. Does that lose this pawn if you play knight d3 after queen d4 check? Okay, so f4. Trying to queen. I is on the prize as far as that goes. Just have to be careful. There isn't any sort of tactical opportunity. So king comes up. I don't think that's going to work out very well. Two moves, c2 or d1. And now f3 is coming. Incidentally, the computer thinks black is, of course, much better, but it's not like a mate on the board yet. I don't think it thinks this queen is gonna. It'll trade for the rook is really what's gonna happen. So rook d1 comes, and now you can play the really annoying like queen e2, queen takes e4, because rook e2 is the only move to defend both, I think, and then now takes c4. Nothing wrong with that. Two moves there. Okay, queen e1, and this is actually very not good. Bishop d6 check. Yeah. Wait, how bad is this? You pick up a. Oh, it's over. Rook e8. Okay, this is also bad, but rook e8. Oh, and rook e8 actually is still just fine, right? Yeah, rook e8. So king f7. So now if you rook takes f2 check, no, not that order because now they get the queen. Okay, let me clarify a little bit. This is very weird. Okay, so you have to play rook takes f2 check. And the idea is if the king moves, rook takes e1, and if trades, you're up just so much material. So the queen has come. The computer thinks this is a very technical draw, but it's really, really annoying. And now Nick Nacho is going to try and bully the king around and get some good positioning. I have to worry when the king and the queen are on the same file. You have to be careful, and you also have to be careful that your king doesn't, you know, give up some sort of opportunity to not protect. So b6. If bishop takes b6, bishop takes b6, queen takes b4. So now this pawn is kind of worrying. Yeah, this was almost just completely lights out for white, like a huge swing. Bishop d6 was really, really good. And we can go back to that a little bit. So just to show you, I guess a couple more lines, like king f6, bishop takes c5. And now you have two rooks and a bishop for the queen. So slowly fighting their way back. If black is not going to put you away, you can maybe find some tactical opportunities. So now queen h1 is on the board. And here you always have to think, how can I get these pieces off the board if I'm black? How can I play tactics? If this board is open, you have to worry about tactics on both sides. For white, you have to worry that that bishop is not defended. So it's currently not defended. You also have to worry that it's defending the queen. Oh, that's just hanging. That's just hanging. Queen takes e2 will win the game, and it goes unseen. In the heat of the moment, you have plenty of time. There's so many pieces hanging around. But, it's easier to watch this than to see it. I have a big bar that tells me everything. It's my danger meter. And this is a really obnoxious endgame because you just can't play king f5 because then you get skewered. Oh my god, that's the game. Okay, rook e5 actually wins. Oh no, that's not it. That's not it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be, that facetious about it, but this is a huge, huge opportunity. This would skewer the king and the queen, thus trading the pieces. You have to be so tactically aware in these endgames. A4, so trying to push the pawn, but this, I think, the computer is now flashing danger, danger, because now a bunch of checks are coming. Take on A4, maybe with check. If you notice, this is not defended. This is not defended. This is the only defended square. So B6 came out, which actually locks the pawn on the type of square that this bishop can attack. So that's a little bit risky. So bishop c7 comes, and now queen takes a4, which is quite good. It takes this pawn, destabilizes this pawn, and if the queen comes to b5, you have protection. But you do have to worry about the very brutal. Oh no, queen takes b5. You have rook b. Yes, rook h5. There's the tactic, and there they find it. Very good. Tactics, 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 tactics. And now this pawn will fall. There is nothing that black can do about that. And now it's going to be whether white can mate with king and rook. And the bishop's there for fun. Honestly, I'd probably just put it away and do king and rook because I am lazy. So really the technique here is to once again cut off the king. Put the king into as small as block as possible. And you're going to actually apply a bit of Zugzwang. And you're going to basically give up the opposition in an interesting way. So using the bishop to help is also pretty good. Right now, what I would do is I would put the rook on b6, thus cutting off the king. But this is also very good because the king has very few squares. So now you play rook b7. This is the key setup for a rook. Rook b6 is not quite as good because now you have king c7. And before rook b7 would move the king back to the last rank where they have not that many squares to escape. And now it's awkward. King c4, and still it's important that white not let black get out of the corner. You push to the corner because that's where the king has the least squares you have to cover. Now I would get the king back in, and what I'm going to do is the following. If king bishop b4, okay, we're losing the thread a little bit. You need to defend this rook or keep it on the file. You can even move it all the way over. Rook h6 is just fine. So we'll see if they can rook king mate. The correct move here is probably that's it's fine. Oh, okay, big opportunity here. You play rook h7, thus driving them back to the back rank. Don't let them escape. Don't let them do that. Always give them a square, so you have to think about that. Rook e6. Now you are forcing probably king g7 will come. This is probably not as good. So king g7. The idea is that Jordan is trying to keep himself from being pinned into the corner. So now you want to, all right, bishop e5 is, I think, totally fine. King f7, king d6. And at some point, actually, because the bishop's there, he'll have to step back to the eighth rank. All right, king d6. Now there is actually no king move. No, 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 no. So king e f8, and here, just play here. Just put the king in a box. All right, I didn't exactly like that because rook f7 is coming, but I'm sure there is a valid checkmating pattern here. So, plenty of ways to actually finish this one off. Rook e7 is fine. So now you have to be careful of stalemate. Don't let stalemate happen. So you don't want the king there. You want the king out here. And what you're going to do is you're going to make the kings face each other. And when it's your move, you're going to play the rook back one, and it's going to be mate. And you could probably use the bishop to help yourself here. So if king e7 comes, you will see some weird stalemate patterns. Rook d7, they are worried about it. I think they're just tangled up. They can't find the pattern to put the pieces together. This is not gonna be enough. So king g8, bishop g7, king g8. Dangerous. This is a stalemate position. If the king moves or the rook moves, it is a stale. Oh, I'm sorry. No, this is even worse. You have h7, which could allow an escape. Okay, so king c7. I think literally the only legal move here is king h7. So that's gonna have to happen. And so now you got to reconfigure. You're letting the king out of the box. You don't want that. That's not what we want here. Now actually g6 is going to be possible. So I would play king g6. So here I would play rook here setting up the box again. And you're going to bring the king over and you're going to face them against each other and you're going to set up that mate we talked about before the tournament and resign. Honestly, I wouldn't have resigned because they did not demonstrate at that point that they had it. To be totally honest, I am surprised that we saw the resign there. And actually, Jordan says, I got tired of defending. I didn't want to go to whoever. Nuke Nacho admits that he could not get a mate. So just to show the technique there, because Rook Knight is, King Rook versus King's a little bit tricky. So going to Lee Chess, and we're going to practice. This is free. You go to Peace Checkmates. So yeah, Jordan says, I'm not sure how to mate with a rook and a bishop. And what you can do is you can just ignore the bishop. Just do it with the rook. And so I'm just going to let them know that I'm showing it on stream if they wanted, kind of the idea. There are two key ideas, and we actually had this come up in PogChamps, the Smasher version, which was Smasher's Gambit, where I think it was Leffen versus Hugs. And the funny thing is that this endgame also happened when Hugs was practicing against the Ludwig robot. The Ludwig robot was beating Hugs, which was disappointing to me because that's upsetting. It's not very good. And we got down to Hugs versus the Lud robot, and Hugs had the bad side of this endgame. And the robot could not mate in it, and Hugs drew after 50 moves of defense. Very disappointing. But it also happened in tournament where Leffen got this position against Hugo. And then Hugo drew by just staying in the center, and Leffen couldn't figure out how to force the king out of the center. So the idea of this is step one is to make boxes that you can trap the king into. So the easiest way that I do this, I don't play it totally optimally, is first I just have this rook block off the row, which I think they had in the game. That was kind of the idea. So now you have an interesting sort of tricky position, and I'm going to show you. So now I'm going to move the rook away from the king. So they hopefully can't attack me. And now I'm going to do this. This is tricky, and I'm going to show you why. So this is the point. You want it to be your move in this position because then you get to play rook a6. King protects these squares. Rook will block off from this entire line, and then the king will have to step back somewhere on the 7th rank. Now the question is, how do you make it your move in this position? Well, you have to waste a move with the rook. So here, normally, you have the opposition being good because you can block the king, but really what you want to do is move one off. And the idea is you're going to chase the king down, make them face each other. And now I'm going to show you what happens when you don't have the right setup, when it's not your move to play in this situation. See, like that, you are going to waste a move with the rook. Now you're going to chase him down again. And the idea is that you make the smaller and smaller box, go line by line. And if you ever want to practice it, Lee Chess has, chess.com has some as well. But Lee Chess has the practice set up. They don't have the great explanations for it. But that's the idea. You want to make smaller and smaller boxes and use that trick, waste a move with your rook to make them step in front of your king. And if they do that, you can push them back. And if you've pushed them all the way to the 8th rank or the last file or the 1st rank, then you play this and the game is over.
Push them all the way to the 8th
And I
rank
think this is
or
probably
the
the
last
easiest
file
way to
for the 1st rank.
I think I just linked them to chat. I think I didn't explain anything. But yeah, we can go over it again if everyone missed it because I linked the chat wrong. But yeah, we'll see. So that's the tournament altogether. So I'm gonna ask them if they want to see it again. Did you want to see King Rook versus King? I'm typing. So altogether, I think Ray wins with a combined score of 5. I think Nacho is gonna end up, because of this win, Nacho ends up taking 2 points here, 2.5 off the other one, so altogether 4.5. So yeah, we're gonna show king rook versus king again. All right, I need it to just refresh. So 2 ideas here. One is you want to push the king to the side of the board, and you do this by just using your rook to block off horizontal or vertical lines. So right now, as long as I don't let the king attack the rook, there's no way they can ever step past this. And I'm going to push them back step by step. So what I'm going to do is show you the key position here, which is this. With you to move, this is the key. The kings directly across from each other. So the king can't move past here if this rook weren't here. You then just move the rook back once. And if you notice, they can't go here. They can't go here or here. They have to step back. And that's the key. So you want to keep just chasing the king down and getting to that position. So now, what if it's their move and you can't chase them down? You just waste a move with the rook. That's the big secret to finish this. And now they have to step in front of your king, and the game's over. All right, I think they're going to try a 4-player chess game. That Mikey, is that it for us, or what do we want to do? But the place to practice that is here, and I'll post it in the PSU Altoona Discord.
Nice.
And I'll post it in chat too.
Yeah, the
Oh, I got banned. So I posted a link.
I got you.
But if you click on my message, you can see the link.
Yeah, that's it for the tournament. Do you want to get in on this 4-player chess
Thank you, Mikey,
action?
for linking it.
Oh, I was muted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what's up, Mikey?
Yeah, that's it for the tournament, but
Half point, baby.
big 0.5.
By the statistics, you were not favored to take many points.
That is true. Yeah.
They were a lot of elo higher than you.
I'm kind of surprised that I did get on the board and also miss wins in other games.
Yeah, you had some good shots. You could have gone 2. You could have had 2 points.
Yeah, it needs some work.
It happens. It's a tough game.
Yeah.
Finishing off is hard. I mean, you remember Smasher's Gambit, where Leffen just he played so well, and then he just didn't know king rook versus king.
Yeah, you gotta study up, I guess.
Yeah. It's that, or take care of your wife and pets. It's one of the two. I choose studying chess. Obviously, the better one.
I chose GeoGuessr.
I chose GeoGuessr. I have no shot at. I don't even understand the sun placement.
Oh, that's an easy one. We'll go over it.
It just I can't ever find the sun.
That's a topic for another stream.
Yeah, that's another stream. So congratulations to Ray. They take the overall championship with 5 out of 6. Nuke Nacho with 4.5 out of 6. Jordan with I guess 2 out of 6 is how that ends. And it's all about this tactics. There were a lot of huge tactical opportunities that showed up, and that's kind of the fun of speed chess. All right. Anything else, Mikey? You gonna play the 4-player chess?
I don't think we have 4, unfortunately.
Yeah, 4. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody in chat, everyone who played, and Bravis Esports, of course. Mikey, what did you learn?
I learned a lot, I think.
Yeah. You got put in the grinder.
I did, yeah.
The chamber of learning.
I'm very used to just sort of kind of obvious end game setups that kind of present themselves in the middle of a game.
Right. It's like it's harder. Especially no increment. No increment is so brutal.
Yeah. I was definitely behind the 8 ball on time in every game that I played. So that doesn't help.
It's the time gambit where maybe if they take less time, they're playing worse.
Yeah.
And
who knows?
So that's baseball though,
That's how the cookie crumbles.
That is how the cookie crumbles. So with Mikey, I'm Chrome. Thanks everybody.
Thanks gamers. Goodbye.
Keep on gaming.